Welcome back to Say No To Lashon Hara, day 62. This entire series is being done as a zechut for the continued health for Chana Bat Semefega. If you'd like to sponsor an episode, please contact us on shlomo@wearechazak.com. The Chafetz Chaim is going through, in the recent days that we've been studying him, all the various cases where someone might be inclined to think that they are allowed to believe Lashon Hara that they heard, for one reason or another, because in other areas we find that a person is allowed to be believed or that there is believability based on that case. So, the Chafetz Chaim continues now with another one of these types of cases. There's a law that states that mesiach lefi tumo, which means that when someone is speaking just casually, so even though in general sense we might not believe someone's testimony if they're only one, we might not believe someone who's telling us that something is kosher if they're not Jewish or if they don't keep kosher. But when they happen to be saying it in passing, in conversation, not to get us to believe something, not to convince us of something, but just in idle chatter, it's almost as if that's an assurance that what they're saying is actually true. One such case of Mesiach Lefi Tumo that we believe is a unbelievably powerful case, where a man goes abroad and he hasn't come back and there's no one who's heard of him. Suddenly, a person comes back into the community and he happens to be saying over that he saw this person's dead body and that they buried him wherever. Even though he's not coming to testify, because if he was, it would only be half of a witness that is necessary. You need two. But when he's Mesiach Lefi Tumo, there is a concept that we will allow or maybe use those remarks to be able to allow the woman who's waiting for her husband to come home to get married again, even though she doesn't have a get, a divorce paper. Why? Because there is a believability element to the fact that the person said it without it being asked of him. It's not like it could be false or it could be planted, because it's just idly said. He would have had no idea that his remarks were actually so important to the one that they were said to. Now, since that's the case, we might be inclined in other areas halachically to believe Mesiach Lefi Tumo, a casual statement, is actually true. Says the Chafetz Chaim, when it comes to Lashon Hara, what if someone doesn't know that you have any connection to this person? They just say, I happened to meet this guy and his name is whatever, and he actually lives somewhere nearby here, and he describes the person. So he doesn't know that you know them. And he's telling you this story, just happens to be like casually about something that happened to him that day. So since it's a casual remark, Mesiach Lefi Tumo, one might think that the negative information he's giving, it must be true. Because in other areas we believe casual, innocent conversation to be truth, because it has no negative intent. So what would be if someone spoke Lashon Hara in such a manner? Says the Chafetz Chaim, there is no halacha or halachic concept that would allow us to have that level of Mesiach Lefi Tumo believability when it comes to negative speech Lashon Hara. In fact, if someone were to say it, even idly, even innocently, we'd be obligated to not believe it, just like the rest of the laws of Lashon Hara. Even if, as an example, the person didn't say something necessarily so negative, but it just showed the person in the not such a positive way, we would have the classic obligation of judging them favorably and coming up with an alternate understanding of what might have happened, and through that be able to see the person positively. In any case where we hear negative information, even if it comes from an innocent comment, we have the halacha that tells us that we are not allowed to believe Lashon Hara. Now the Chafetz Chaim actually proves it by a really clever proof. He quotes the Gemara in Baba Metzia. The Gemara says as follows: if someone hurts someone financially, or if someone insults them, which one is worse? The Gemara says, to hurt someone financially affects their money. But when you hurt them by insulting them, those hurtful words actually affect and hurt and damage and demean the person's own self, his very essence. When it comes to monetary damages, a person might be able to make it up to you. But when it comes to insult, when it comes to damaging reputation, that might not be something that you could ever get back after the deed is done. So the Gemara says quite clearly that hurtful words about a person's self, insults, negative speech, are actually worse than speech that hurts someone or deeds that hurt someone on a financial level. Now this is interesting because I think in general people would much more easily say something negative about somebody than actually hurt them financially. Which person wants to go and ruin someone else's parnasah? But yet the Gemara tells us exactly the opposite. Insulting words about a person are worse than damaging them financially. What is interesting then is that we know that the halacha does not allow us to use mesiach lefi tumo, innocent bystander chatter, to be able to remove money from someone in a court case. We would not say that if a person is casually speaking and he happens to say, oh, yeah, I remember this field, this guy bought it, and that field is a matter of dispute between two people, we would not use that casual remark and give it believability to be able to institute a monetary loss or a monetary transfer based on it. And if we would not believe it for a monetary issue, and the Gemara just told us that insulting someone is actually far worse than a monetary issue, how much more so would we not believe those casual remarks to be able to institute or to set in motion a series of things that might cause me or others to believe terrible things about another Jew.